circulated before 7 days, but it means in fees receipt uh, notices I couldn't pay attention to that. So please hurry up regarding your admissions. Your admission last date is on 31st of October. So on 23rd, your mail was received. Maybe you might have also received mail regarding the admission. So please, in the notice, fees etc. is mentioned, and also a Google form link is also mentioned. So after filling your fees, you have to apply for that Google form, and there you have to give the number regarding your payment fees. So this was the main instruction which I wanted to pass today. Again, regarding our classes, so I'm going to plan a guest lecture on the Python, but probably on Saturday we are planning our guest lecture. So in the chat window, please mention how many of you are having backlog examination on first, second, third, fourth, or five, etc. Please, so that I will decide whether to go for guest lecture on 31st or whether to go for guest lecture on the next week only. So shall we go for guest lecture on 31st? Those who want to say yes, they can type yes. Those who are not willing to uh, that we should plan a guest lecture for Python, they can say no. Based on the majority of response, so I will decide whether to go for guest lecture or not. Okay. So okay, today I will share a Google Sheet with you with our WhatsApp group. So there you have to write your roll number, that after that name, and on which date you are having the examination, and then uh, also which examination you are having. If you are having more than one backlogs, so please mention those all dates also, so that even though you are absent for the classes, still it means depending on how many students are having backlog. If majority of students are having backlog, then there is no point in continuing the classes. If consider only 20 to 30% students are having the backlog, then we can continue with the classes. So, in the Google Sheet, please mention on which date you are having the examination, and also which examination you are having. And if you are having more than one examination, mention that also. Okay. So, let us start with the today's class. So today, yesterday we started. It means in the last lecture we started with the transaction isolation and atomicity. So isolation, it means that whenever I'm trying to execute a transaction simultaneously, multiple data members should not be able to multiple transactions should not be able to access the same data member. So we seen how this can create database into inconsistent state, and which may produce a wrong data. Okay, for this purpose we wanted to maintain isolation, and also we wanted to achieve the atomicity. Atomicity, it means that there should be a effect of complete transaction on my database, or none of the effect should be there. So this was the point. So here we have seen a concept of recoverable schedules. Recoverable schedules, it means that those which can be recovered, or from which we can recover our consistent database. Okay, so here is a example for the non-recoverable schedule, where a transaction T6 has performed some changes has performed changes to the A, and then the updated copy of A is read by transaction T7 and commit. Commit, it means that that transaction has completed the execution, and committed, it means that saved results to the database. And then because of some reason T6 got failed. Failed, it means that we should reverse the effect of T6. T6, already whatever the updates done by the T6 are there, those are read by the T7, and hence as this transaction is committed, we cannot roll back the committed transaction. So it means that we cannot recover the loss that T7 has read the wrong value. Okay, so that's why this schedule is called as a non-recoverable schedule. So recoverable schedule, it means that where there is a possibility of recovering the failures. Whenever there is a failure, we can keep our database to the consistent state. So recoverable schedule is one where each pair of transactions Ti and Tj such that Tj reads a data item previously written by Ti. The commit operation of Ti appears before the commit operation of Tj. Okay, it means that if this is my Tj and this is my Ti, Tj is reading a value updated by the Ti, then Tj should commit after Ti has been committed. Okay, so this was the recoverable schedule. Now this is an example of a cascading rollbacks. Cascading rollbacks, it means that here, because of single transaction failure, if we need to about multiple transactions, then this will be called as a cascading rollback. Here, the updations done by the T8 are read by the T9, and whatever updations done by the T9 are there, those are read by the T10. Here, if consider because of some reason T8 need to abort, then as its effect has been implemented by the T9, then T9 also need to be rolled back, and so for the T10. And hence, a single transaction failure leads to a series of transaction rollbacks. This is called as a cascading rollbacks. So this is an undesirable feature. Okay. So cascadeless schedules, it means that those schedules, that is because of single transaction, we need not to go for multiple transaction rollbacks. Okay. So we are having such pairs that Ti and Tj such that whenever any Tj is reading a data item written by Ti, then read operation should be after the write operation of T. Okay, that was the main reason, or that was the way through which we can avoid the cascading of the transactions. So this also we covered in the last lecture. So now we are moving towards the next point, that is a transaction isolation levels. So there are only 3 points remaining from this chapter. So let us see what is meant by a transaction isolation level. Transaction isolation levels, it means that whenever we are trying to distribute the elements, okay, there are multiple transactions executing simultaneously, then how we can achieve that there are multiple data items are there which can be shared by the multiple transactions? How we can achieve the isolation? So okay, there are isolation levels which are specified by the SQL standards. So first one is the serializable. Serializable, it means that here we have seen the two types of the serializable schedules, that is view serializable and conflict serializable. So if consider we are executing concurrent transactions such that those transactions are serializable, then this will be called as a first isolation level. Okay, so serializable says that usually this ensures serializable execution. Serializable execution, that concurrent execution of multiple transactions should result into any of a serial execution of a transactions. Okay, that is results or values of concurrent execution transactions, those are exactly matching with those values wherever we are having any of the serial execution of all the transactions. So simultaneously multiple transactions might be executing, and because of which we are having multiple solutions for or multiple results of a serial execution. If concurrent schedule results into any of those serial executions, then we can say that there we have achieved a serializable, that is that schedule is a serializable, and hence this is the first level of a isolation. Next is repeatable rate. Repeatable rate, it means that in a transaction it might happen that a single transaction is reading the same data item repeatedly. Okay, for let us consider a data item A is there. Consider there are 50 statements are there into a transaction. Then in the first 10 statements, that transaction is reading a data item A. Then that transaction has completed some changes to the A, or maybe it means let us consider that only reading the value A. And then in between there are other data items or on which operations are performed. And at the 40th of the statement, again the variable A is required. So whatever the period, that is first 5 statements and 40th statement, in between the execution of 35 statements, it might happen that any other transaction has accessed the same data item, has performed some changes, and then released that data item. Because here, whatever the speed of database servers are there, those are in terms of uh, it means very large speed they are having, that is nanoseconds or etc per nanoseconds for each of the operations, and because of which during that period any other transaction might have used the data item A, and hence might have performed any changes to the A also. It means there is no guarantee that whether other transaction has read the data item or changed data item or had not touched data item A at all. Okay, so repeatable read, it means that here whenever a reading at the statement 5 is there and reading at the statement 40 is there, at both the times, if any transaction T1 is accessing data item A at statement 5 and at statement 40, then in between no other transaction should access that layer. Okay, so repeatable read, it means that if in a transaction we are having repeated reading of a same uh, data item, then both values should be same. So let us see in terms of a textbook. So repeatable read allows only committed data to be read and further requires that between two reads of a data item by a transaction, no other transaction is allowed to update it. So it means that whenever there is a repeatable read is there, no other transaction can perform changes to that data number. Okay, so it means both the reading or both the values, wherever there is a repetition of reading of same data item is there, both the values should be same. So here that transaction always reads a committed data, and hence if it is reading a committed data between the two reads, it should not allow any update. So let us read the explanation. However, a transaction may be serializable with respect to other transactions. Okay. However, the transaction may not be serializable with respect to the other transaction. For instance, when it is searching for data satisfying some condition, etc. So in that case, this condition may not be achieved by this, and hence we have to take care of this repeatable way. When it is searching for data satisfying the sum condition, a transaction may find some of the data inserted by commit transaction, but may not find some other data, some other data inserted by the same transaction. For example, if there are two elements are there, A and B. For the A, we are having the matching value, that first read and second read are having the same value. And in case of B, if consider we are that other transaction has performed some changes to the B. In that case also, this operation will not be allowed. All the data items wherever we are reading, all those must have the same rule that whenever repeatable read is there, the same data item, same value should be there for the every data. Next, read committed. So whatever the repeatable read was there, so this was not allowing too many data items to be released simultaneously. So this is much more restricted form. Whereas we can move to the more liberal forms. So first one is the read committed. Read committed, it means that whenever there is a repeatable read is there, only committed data should be read. So in between changes can be allowed. That is, at the fifth statement, if it is reading value of a as 20, then at the fourth statement, in between any other transaction has performed a's value from 20 to 30, and that transaction is committed, then in that case the current transaction can continue with that value. Okay, so it means here any other transaction in between can perform changes to that value also. So this is much more liberal form as compared to the repeatable read. Next is read uncommitted. Read uncommitted, it means that here even though the transaction is not committed, still allows for the access of data in between the transaction. Okay, so this is the lowest level of the isolation allowed by the SQL. Lowest level because here it means this doesn't keep database into consistent state. Okay, and that's why very rarely this level is used. And all these, whatever serializable is there, repeatable reads are there, read committed is there, or read uncommitted levels are there. So these all levels does not allow a dirty write. Okay, dirty write, it means that here whenever any transaction doesn't read a data and still directly writes a data, those writes are called as a dirty writes. Okay, that is whatever already data item is written, writing to that data member is not allowed. Okay, so much more strict form is serializable. More than that, repeatable read, that is lowest form. uh, More lowest, that is more less strict form, that is read committed. And last one with the lowest level is a read uncommitted. So let me have queries if you are having in between. Any of these I should repeat? No? Okay, let us go move to the next point. Implementation of isolation levels. So it means even though we are deciding that these are the levels, serializable, repeatable read, how we can go for implementing those? So here, for this purpose, we are implementing many concurrency control policies, which is controlled by a concurrency manager as well as transaction manager. So for this, we are having a separate chapter that is concurrency control, but still we will cover few of the main points in this point. So here, there are various concurrency control policies are there that we can use to ensure that even when multiple transactions are executing simultaneously or concurrently, only acceptable schedules are generated. Acceptable schedules, those which are recoverable schedules, those which are serializable schedules, and those which will keep my database into a consistent state. Okay, so consistency, all whatever the properties of transaction are there, all schedules should follow that property. That is not reading, not to have a non-recoverable schedules, etc. So for this purpose, we are having this isolation levels. So only acceptable. So all those schedules, that is recoverable schedule, etc., will come under acceptable schedules, regardless of how the operating system, that is time sharing of CPU, as there are multiple transactions are executing, multiple processes are running, how the OS is defending, still we can continue with this isolation level. So okay, for the isolation, it means there are two ways are there. First one is a locking and second one is a time stamping. Locking, it means that if consider a T1 transaction wanted to read a data item A. Okay, so here a transaction T1 is reading a data item A, and and do not want to share that data item as this transaction T1 is reading a data item A. So simultaneously another transaction should not access that data item. So for this purpose, T1 will acquire a lock on the data item A, indicating that this is a locked data item is being used by some another transaction and hence not allowed by any other transaction to read or write. Okay, so here it means this is a called as a locking procedure or locking the way of concurrency control or achieving the isolation. So a transaction acquires a lock on the entire database before it starts and releases the lock once it commits. So it means that here it is acquiring a lock on a complete database. So complete database in a transaction, multiple databases might be used, and so many databases it need to acquire the lock. So there are two ways to achieve the concurrency. First one is the locking, and second one is the timestamping. Locking, just now we shared that transaction T1 will acquire the lock whenever it is about to start the execution. Locking it means that simultaneously reading or writing of that data item will not be allowed. And as soon as T1 completes the execution, another transactions can acquire the lock and hence prevent that data item to be shared during the simultaneous execution. So this is a way. Again in locking, there are two types of the locks are there: shared locks and exclusive lock. Shared lock it means that wherever data item is only used for the reading. Okay, if A is having a value equal to 10 and that value is read by a transaction T1 and is not going to perform any of the write operation, then whether T1 is only reading the value or other transactions are reading the value, that doesn't matter. So okay, here point is that if consider we are having multiple data items, multiple transactions accessing the same data item, then it can be used in the shared mode wherever only reading of a data item is there, and hence there will not be any changes to my data item and there will not be loss of information. The database will remain into a consistent state. Okay, so that is a shared log that multiple transactions can go for reading a same data item simultaneously. And second one is a exclusive lock. Exclusive lock it means that a transaction is trying to perform some changes to that data item. Okay, so in that case, writing can be done by simultaneously a single transaction only. Multiple transactions cannot write the same data repeatedly, so this will result into an inconsistent state. And hence, wherever there is an exclusive lock is there, simultaneously any other lock is not allowed on a transaction. If shared lock is there, then only shared lock is allowed. If there is an exclusive lock on a data item, then other transactions cannot access the data item neither in shared mode, neither in exclusive mode. And wherever the transaction completes its execution, then it can release those data item or release those locks on the data item. So this is a locking procedure. Second one is a timestamping. Timestamping it means that a computer time. We know that this can be measured in nanoseconds or very less number of the second, that 10 raised to power minus 13, 14 or 16, etc. So here whenever two transactions request for a same data item, a timestamping procedure checks which of the transaction is having a higher timestamp value. Timestamp value, this is a value which is a combination of date and time. Okay, so date and time it means that a computer can divide the time into nanoseconds, into microseconds, into uh, teraseconds, etc. So by considering those smallest units of time, This will check the transaction which is having a higher timestamp value. Okay, and based on that, this will release or this will assign that data item to that transaction. Those transactions which are having less timestamp value, they cannot access a data item which is having a higher timestamp value. If consider that transaction T1 has performed any changes to the A, okay, at timestamp value consider A, then other transaction which are accessing that data item must always have a timestamp value greater than the A, okay, and then only it can go for changing that data item, else it will not allow to perform any operations on that data item. So here timestamp we are using because whenever two transactions are there, they can have the same hour, same minute or same seconds, but in terms of nanoseconds and teraseconds, there will be a difference. And hence, first come first, sorry, the one who is having the higher timestamp value, those those transactions only will win and will get access of that data item. Okay, that is mean by a timestamp value. And again, there are two types of the timestamp values are there: read timestamp value and write timestamp value. Read timestamp value, it means that which was the latest read operation done on that data item, and latest write, it means that which was it means this is equal to the timestamp value when last write was performed on that data item. So these are the two techniques which are mainly used. Also, there is a third technique, that is multiple versions and snapshot isolation. Here, multiple versions, it means that there are multiple copies of a database are created, and only a snapshot, it means that wherever those data items which are used, only those will be changed, and hence it is performing a, that is maintenance of a multiple versions of a data item. Okay, transaction T1 will access A, will make from 5 to 10. Another transaction B might access the uh, same value and then perform changes that A equal to 10 to 15. It means that here there will be three copies of A will be created: A equal to 5 initial, A equal to 10, and A equal to 12. Okay, multiple versions, it means that we are maintaining a multiple versions of the same data item. Next, transactions as SQL statement. So here, transactions as SQL statement, it means that here we are executing actually insert, update, delete operations. Even though in the transaction we are writing read X, write X, etc. So there will be a SQL query defining those operations. And hence, for this purpose, we need to take a care of phantom phenomena. Phantom phenomena, it means that here uh, it means those operations which are done may not be done in the back, may not be done on a database. Uh, Let me make clear this to you. Just a wait. Phantom phenomena, it means that whatever we are performing the operation, at the background there is a another reality. Okay, it means those will not have a physical existence, etc. Something apparently sensed but does not have a physical reality. Okay, so it means that consider that we are executing multiple transactions simultaneously, and uh, multiple transactions are executing simultaneously, and consider that we are trying to insert a value and simultaneously read a value. Okay, for example, T1 transaction is trying to perform some write operation on a data item or insertions to some table, and consider that we are reading some value from a table, and whatever we are reading the value, whatever just insertion happened, that insertion may not reflect the correct data. Okay, it means that is a concurrent actions are there. So it means conflict can be there. Such conflicts are called as a phantom phenomenon. Okay, phantom phenomena, it means that whatever our answer is there, because of concurrency, that answer may not be a complete answer or may not be a right answer for a existing reality. Okay, that was the phantom phenomena. uh, Next, predicate locking. Predicate locking, it means that initially we are in, we will assign or we will lock those data items which can be used in a transaction at the start of a transaction only. Consider that for transferring or performing some summation, I need few data members. So initially only I will lock those data items before the start of transaction. That can be also a way to perform transactions in a SQL. So let us see which are the transactions as SQL statements are there. So previously you might have heard word regarding rollback. Okay. So this was the one keyword, rollback. Next, commit is there. Commit, then save point. Let us see which are the keywords used here. Save point and auto commit. Auto commit is actually variable. Okay. So auto commit is a variable. Variable, it means that this is always a changing value. So by default, this variable is always having a value 1. Okay, it can take two values, only 1 and 0. So if consider auto commit by default is 1, it means that every statement that we write insert into, update, delete, or any modification statement, so this all those statements will have effect on a database, and there is a automatic saving of all those operations. So this is called as a auto commit, that automatically all the changes will be saved into database. Whereas if the same variable is having the value 0, okay, if the same variable is having the value 0, unless and until we type commit, this will not perform any changes to a database. Yes, for a temporary purpose, this will show that yes, any value is added or any value is updated. But if we turn off our machine and again start our machine, then at this point this will not show all the changes saved. Okay, commit, it means that saving the database. Okay, so here this was regarding the auto commit. Next one is the save point. Save point, it means that this is just acting as a marker. For example, let us consider that I'm having a transaction T1 which is having 100 statements. Okay, 100 statements are there. Before explaining the rule save point, let us explain what is meant by a rollback and what is meant by a commit. For example, consider that T1 transaction is there, uh, who is reading a value of A from a table, and consider from A. Consider A is the amount of any of the bank account, and from A, it is reading a value of 5,000 and deducting 4,000 from that value and transferring to some another account. Okay, this was a just simple transaction over there. That is reading the value of first, that is source, and writing it back to the destination. So if consider my transaction, uh, if my transaction performs transfer of 4,000 from account 1 to the account 2, then, and if consider because of some reason I couldn't withdraw the money or balance is insufficient, any problem can be there, because of which a transaction couldn't reach to the committed state. So in that case, rollback is the option which is used. Rollback, it means that whatever the effect of that started transaction is there, that need to be undo. Undo if previously I have read a data item A and then has performed any changes, those changes should be replaced by the counter changes. For example, deduction of 4,000 can be replaced by addition of 4,000. Okay, so this is how it means a rollback works. Rollback, it means that move my database up to the consistent state. Okay, so for this purpose rollback operation is used. Next one is a commit. So commit is used for saving the result. Unless and until commit is called, our changes will not be saved in a database. Next, rollback. So here we have taken example that a transaction T1 is there, which is having consider hundreds of lines or statements are there in that transaction, and consider before it means completing all the instructions, if at the 98th statement, okay, I'm saying 98th statement, if we are having that is any problem in continuing the transaction, and in that case we might need to abort that complete transaction. Okay, it means that here whenever we are reading the value or we are performing the changes, it, it might happen that we need to undo the complete transaction or complete 98 statement, whatever of transactions are there, all need to undo the effect of those transactions. So here for that purpose we are having a solution of save point. Save point is acting as just like a draft. It means even though there might be further changes might be there, um, further any operations are there or any data items are there, still if you want to, if consider that transaction couldn't continue with the execution of a transaction, but transaction doesn't have any logical problem, that is doesn't have any syntactical problem, then in that case it is possible to, it means it is possible to stop a complete transaction to undo. So that can be possible by using a save point. Save point will save point is the point up to which a transaction rolls back. Okay, transaction always doesn't roll back to the complete one, that is up to the zeroth level of that transaction start or before the first statement. But save point will take your database or whatever the rollback is there, this will take your database up to the last point where a save point was declared. So save point is acting as just like, save point is acting as just a point up to which you need to save your transactions, and whatever the effects of previous statements were there, those will be transferred to the log, and hence will be useful wherever intermediate executions are there. And the save point in between, putting the save point will help us to track down the complete transaction effects wherever long transactions are there. So these are the rollback, coming, and save point and auto coming. So previously I have taken a program regarding the transaction. So let us see what is mean by that program. Okay, in that program, what I have done. So initially I have said, auto commit to the false or auto commit equal to 0. So it means that whatever the automatic changes are there, those should not be done on my database. So first statement I have executed is a auto commit equal to 0. So execution of this statement, it means that automatically all the statements will not have its effect on a database. That is insert, update, delete, etc. will not have any effect on a database. Next, here, right now consider that I have some account number ABC, and from that account I have to transfer 5,000 from account ABC to CD. Okay, Then here we will perform the changes that update, that is changes to the table, update table name, consider that I am having accounts table, set amount equal to amount, as I have to transfer the 5,000, I will deduct the 5,000 from account number equal to A, B, C. Account number, it's your choice which data type you have to take. Okay, this is the first statement. So even though this statement will execute, will perform changes to the database, but those changes will be temporary changes, will not save those changes. If I um, close my command prompt and again restart that command prompt, then it will not show those changes. Okay, then again the same statement that update another account, instead of plus we wanted to perform, sorry, instead of deduction we wanted to perform credit, and here we are having the account name as CDE. Okay, so this was the account name. So here, even though this statement will also have a data effect on table, but will not be complete. And then my changes will be commit. So okay, then in order to save the changes, I will call commit. Okay, this was the complete execution of a transaction, that reading setting auto commit to 0, that is automatically save should be stopped. Then deducting the amount from a account, that is source account, adding that account amount to the destination account, and then saving the result. But if consider at this point, okay, after in order to just cross verify, I will check what is the balance of that account. Okay, select amount from accounts where account number equal to ABC. Just I am reading a just I'm writing a balance, that is how much it remains. So at this point I come to know that only amount is having only 4,000, and whatever the amount has reached, it has reached to the minus 1,000. Okay, so in this case we are not willing to proceed with the transaction because this is an invalid transaction, and hence without going for this statement, at this point we need to undo the effect of this statement. Okay, whatever changes we have done, we have to control Z back to the same state. Okay, or control Z, just like pressing control Z, we can do this by using a statement rollback. Okay, rollback, it means that whatever the effect of last update was there, so this will take database to the last commit state. Okay, this is a one way, or this will take database to a save point. Okay, so this is how it means a transaction is executed. So any doubt in this? Any doubt in this? No doubt. So here I declare that our sixth chapter has been completed. So let us revise what we have studied in this chapter. So okay, in this chapter, these are the syllabus points which we have studied. So first one, a transaction concept. So here we have seen a transaction. It means this is a logical operation done on a database, which can involve multiple database operations. Okay. So then we have seen a simple transaction model where we have seen that there are two operations done on a database, that is read X and write X. And then we have seen storage structure, that is volatile, non-volatile and stable storage. And there we have seen that stable storage, it means that it means this stable storage can never fail. That is, it deals with all types of the failures and hence never lost the data. Okay, so there is no any practical implementation of stable storage is there, but we can go for stable storage implementation by repeating the data or dividing the data, etc. So these options we have seen into storage structure. Then we have seen in simple transaction model only, we have seen the 5 states of the transaction and properties of the transaction. That is, there are 4 properties are there: acid properties, atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. So these properties need to be satisfied by the transaction, and hence a transaction is a valid transaction if it follows the acid properties. So first we have seen transaction atomicity and durability. So atomicity, it means that either the effect of complete transaction should be there or none of the effect should be there on a database. Durability, after committing a transaction, those changes should be permanent on a database. Okay, then transaction isolation, that multiple transaction, if they are accessing the same data item, then how we can achieve the, that is concurrent access. So isolation, it means that simultaneously at a point of time only single transaction use the same data item, else our database can be result into a inconsistent state. Next, we have seen a serializability. Serializability, it means that whatever concurrent transactions we are executing, there are multiple schedules are there. Then those schedules or any of those schedules we can say as a serializable if effect of any serial or effect of that concurrent schedule is seen as of a serial transaction execution. That is, if I'm executing transactions T1, T2, T3 simultaneously, and that schedule is a concurrent schedule, we can say that that schedule is a serializable schedule if the results or the item data item values are there, those are exactly same with the serial schedule. Serial schedule where transactions are executed one after the another. For example, for 3 transactions T1, T2, T3, we can have a schedule T1, T2, T3 or T2, T1, T3 or T2, T3, T1, etc. It means any schedule, any of the serial schedule values and concurrent schedules are same, then we can say that schedule is a serializable. So there are 2 types of the serializability we have seen: conflict serializable and view serializable. So conflict, if either of the operation between the 2 transactions is the right operation, then this might result into conflict. Next, we have seen transaction isolation and atomicity, that it should not go for reading those data items, which, that is, here we see the concept of recoverable schedules, that whenever a transaction is reading the data, then a transaction should have a results of committed transaction. Okay, that was the point. Next, different isolations we have seen: serializable, repeatable read, then read committed and read uncommitted, and how those are implemented, that is also we have seen. And last one is a transactions as SQL statements. So there are main 4 keywords are there, that is auto commit, setting auto commit to the false, that is 0, then using a rollback or commit or uh, save point. So these are the only 4 keywords which we need to use. So regarding the implementation, in the next lecture we will go for implementation of the transaction. So we will stop here our today's lecture.